Donald Trump has echoed the words of Scott Morrison, calling for global trading rules to be adjusted to stop China from gaming the system. Both leaders are at the United Nations, where tomorrow the Prime Minister will address what he says are misconceptions around climate change. Laura Jays is in New York. Laura, good morning, good evening where you are. What did the US President have to say?
Well, the US President was very strong on China, as you'd expect, but he was echoing the words of Scott Morrison, who yesterday raised the idea that the global trading rules need to be adjusted because China has this status as a developing nation. It gives it all kinds of concessions and exemptions when it comes to trade. Donald Trump almost used exactly the same language. He went a little bit further, saying China is essentially gaming the system. Have a look at what Donald Trump and Scott Morrison both had to say today.
The United States lost 60,000 factories after China entered the WTO. This is happening to other countries all over the globe. The World Trade Organization needs drastic change. The second largest economy in the world should not be permitted to declare itself a developing country in order to game the system.
The United States is our great ally. China is our comprehensive strategic partner, and we continue to maintain that this isn't a matter of choosing, it's a matter of working closely with both nations in the spirit of both of those histories and those relationships. So, no, I've been saying for some time now, Catherine, that I reject the binary narrative that keeps being thrust towards me on this. I don't buy it, and I don't support it, and I'm not going to make decisions based on it. I think it is a very narrow cast analysis.
That last answer there, Pete, from Scott Morrison was addressing this idea that throughout this visit it has just cemented the feeling, at least, that Australia has chosen between the strategic ally, being the United States, and our biggest trading partner in China. Now, it's not completely unfounded. China has been watching very closely, of course, the language coming out of the Australian leader and, of course, the US President Trump. But we heard there Scott Morrison rejecting that as a binary argument, and he rejected that analysis altogether. How others feel about it? Well, we've also already seen what China has felt about, and that is splashed right across the pages of The Australian this morning.
Yeah, Laura, the Prime Minister also says he's looking forward to addressing the UN and talking about Australia's commitment to tackling climate change. This comes after those comments yesterday where he's making this push for cleaner oceans and recycling in Australia.
Yeah, that's right, Pete. I thought it was really interesting as well during that media conference that you just saw that he addressed for the first time, I think, the 300,000 or so people that rallied right around Australia calling for more action on climate change. We have Greta Thunberg here who's stolen the show at the United Nations. You have a number of young children turning up to these rallies, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds into their teens as well. And he addressed this issue, which I thought was really interesting. He said he didn't reject their anxieties about this outright, but it was kind of a veiled swipe at what these teenagers are being told, saying that perhaps those protesting don't have all the facts. This is what he had to say.
I think we've got to caution against raising the anxieties of children in our country. Yeah, we've got to deal with the policy issues and we've got to take it seriously, but I don't want our children having anxieties about these issues.
And Pete, as you say, he says he's looking forward to addressing the UN General Assembly tomorrow. He will be talking about climate change. There has been some criticism from global think tanks in the environment space about Australia not doing its bit and scaling up its targets since the Paris Agreement in 2016. He says he's looking forward to clearing up some misconceptions, pointing out a number of things. That one being Australia is the biggest investment in renewable energy on a per capita basis in any country in the world.
I think it's important to acknowledge how deeply people feel about this issue, and we feel deeply about it too. That's why we're taking the action that we are taking, and that's why I'll be addressing the action Australia's been taking on climate change in my remarks tomorrow. I think there's a a lot of disinformation out there about, frankly, what Australia is doing. It often comes as news to people when I share with them that Australia has the highest per capita investment in renewable energy of any country in the world.
So there you go. Well, this visit from Washington to Ohio to Chicago has been about about investment and trade and the relationship with the United States. Finally, tomorrow it will turn to climate change for Scott Morrison here at the UN.